Hello there, it's your friend Phil, project management trainer and coach. Let's talk about the 7 deadly sins of project management. These are costly errors, fatal mistakes that some people make on their projects. So let's go through the 7 really quick. Sin 1, using the wrong project management method. A typical example of this can be observed in the case of the failed virtual case file project, a well-known FBI project to replace the antiquated software and hardware. Now, the hardware went on quite well, but when it came to software, trust software, there was a hitch. Instead of using an agile and adaptive approach for this project, they set out for several years using a fully plan-driven approach like waterfall project management. Now, that was a very costly error. At the end of the day, after hundreds of millions of taxpayers' dollars, the light bulb finally came on. Oh, we probably should have been using an agile approach. And here we are using a fully plan-driven approach. Let's change. And that was how the project was finally completed. They were using the wrong project management method all along. You're trying to get done with a 1-day piece of scope, but you're trying to use a 100-year horsepower project management method. That's what happens on some projects. A surgeon was cleaning up after an operation and he was asked by one of the interns, "How did the appendectomy go?" The doctor answered, "Appendectomy? I thought it was an autopsy." You see, sometimes using the wrong method could be extremely costly. Why do we use the wrong method in some projects or in some firms? Lack of consideration for other PM methods. So it's all to do with being open-minded. Having more tolerance for new approaches could help, and not having a one-track mind like some people do. Some folks have tunnel vision. It's because they've studied it. They know it all. They don't want to try anything else. And that's the wrong approach. Sin 2, lack of authorization documentation. What do I mean by authorization documentation? You see, projects should be structured. Even in the world of agile project management, there should be a level of authority. Lack of authorization documentation is common in many firms. And the reason why people don't like authorization documentation in many firms is this. They think that authorization documentation means more work. They think it means too much documentation. But no, it doesn't. You could be as brief as possible in authorization documentation. Just have authorization documentation instead of none. What do I mean by authorization documentation? I'm talking about things like a project charter to authorize the project manager to really hold management to the flames as far as, are you sure that you're really authorizing this thing? Are you sure you're putting me, the PM, at the helm? What is my authority level? Some other people call it a project brief in the world of Prince 2. How about with external customers? PMs, make sure you read your contract, because not reading a contract is as bad as not having one. So read your contract. Some folks don't even have an SOW to start with. They don't have a change order. They start plowing down, trying to get stuff done on promises. You cannot feed your company on a promise without having some formal documentation. It's not enough to have a verbal promise when it comes to these change orders. So when I talk about lack of authorization documents, I'm talking about not even having the authority to do what you're doing. The third one, which is a really awful one, is not developing a pragmatic project plan. Now, in some worlds, people call this a project management plan. But when I say pragmatic, I'm talking about a plan that is real, that is realistic, that can actually work. Don't shove the PM with the schedulers into a dim lit room and say, churn out a schedule for me. You need team involvement. Don't shove the PM into the basement and say, come out like Moses with the tablets. No, no, no. That's not how it works. There has to be stakeholder involvement. There has to be management authorization of the plan. You need to train your management into good project management. Train your management team into understanding, hey, I am the PM, but guess what? I could do with another pair of good eyes. So get your management trained. Lead up. That's what it means when you lead up. Get management to understand the dynamics of great project management. And they need to authorize those plans. They may feel, I'm not the expert, I don't know much about project management, but you do need their attention. So lack of pragmatism could kill a project management plan. You've probably heard, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, or you might have heard Dwight Eisenhower's quote that goes like this: plans are nothing. Planning is everything. Plans are nothing, planning is everything. I think it's absolutely great because a lot of people get so caught up in getting just any plan, but they don't go through a thorough planning process. They have zero goals or zero SMART goals. What do I mean by SMART goals? I mean that their goals are not specific. They dance around too many things. They're not pinpoint precise. You need specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-framed goals. Make them measurable, make them achievable, make them realistic, and make them time-framed. And that should be the core of your project management plan. So make your plan pragmatic, and then sin 4 is not following a pragmatic project management plan. Too many folks are flying by the seat of their pants, thinking that their projects will succeed based on dumb luck. They just try their best. It's like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's like the toss of a coin. That's awful. You see, as a PM who has been trained and educated and gone through the school of hard knocks, right? It's the job of the PM to do the right thing. Oprah said, doing the right thing, knowing that nobody is going to know whether you did it or not, is real integrity. The problem with a lot of PMs, they lack integrity. They'll do it if you push them, but if you don't push them, they just start managing projects with the bare minimum, with almost bare bones that cannot hold the horsepower of a crazy project. Have you ever been on a wild bull all of a sudden and realize, oh my gosh, I'm on a wild bull? By then it's too late. You should have planned earlier. You see, the power of the plan is in the process. But what gives you the even bigger payoff is following your great plan. So if you put a great plan together, roll with it. Do it. As in the picture, it stinks to not follow a pragmatic project management plan. Because what happens? The blame game. Well, it didn't work because it was your fault. As PMs, we need to step up. We should have a schedule. We should follow the schedule. We should have defined scope, defined budget. We should have risk plans, and we should be following those plans. We should have communications plans, and we should be following them, not communicating in an ad hoc fashion, not flying by the seat of our pants when it comes to managing our stakeholders' engagement, not flying by the seat of the pants when it comes... Oh, let's even talk about QA for 1 second. A lot of firms, they don't even have QA because they're not even checking the process. They're more interested in the product than the process. But remember, I said the power is in the process. You have to check your processes. Make sure they are according to your great pragmatic plan, if you have one. Some people have poor quality control. Some people have none. The 5th deadly sin is not being a leader. Victor Hugo said, initiative is doing the right thing without being told. PMs, take the initiative. You are a leader. Now, Are you a bad leader or a good leader? Are you aware that you are a leader? Because being a leader is the key thing to succeed. And being a leader means step up to the plate. Be trustworthy. If you tell your stakeholders you'll give them a report at 5 p.m. on Thursday, don't make it 6 p.m. on Friday. Build trust. Be accountable. Step up to the plate and stop blaming the team members. Be responsible. Take the responsibility and be mature about it. A lot of PMs, they think, well, I'm not a functional head, so I'm not really in charge. Be in charge, and when you find yourself in charge, you can actually delegate. Some PMs are doing the best they can, but they don't want to delegate. It's part of leadership. They want to hold on to all the responsibility. They don't want to give some out. And this is one thing PMs should do. Give out the responsibilities, but still be overall responsible. Some PMs don't follow the laws of Mbauer. Someone said that sounds like a language from a far place. Mbauer means management by walking around. Some people say it's management by wandering around. What does it mean? It means to get up from behind the desk, as you can see in that picture. The PM is behind the desk. Some PMs live their entire PM life behind a desk in front of a computer. And that's one of the deadly sins. They're not being leaders. Leaders stand up, step up to the plate, and go to where the people actually are. Go to where the work is being performed. Not typing emails to Jack, Jill, and John like zombies. No, stand up from behind the desk and go where the people are. That's what being a leader is all about. Some leaders don't have empathy. Or should I say some bosses, because they're not really in the leadership mindset. They're more in the boss frame of mind, like the guy on the screen, pulling the other guy, blaming him for what went wrong. These are all traits of bad leadership, and that is one of the quickest ways for projects to fail. You could have all the fancy tools and techniques and all the infrastructure. You could have a great process, but if you don't have a great leader at the helm, forget it. Bad leaders fail to inspire. They don't inspire their people. Steve Jobs said, management is making people do what you think they should do. But leadership is making people do what they never even imagined they could do. Great leaders inspire. They make people rise up to the occasion and get stuff done that they never even imagined. If only they could have seen 3 months before what they would do 3 months later, they would be blown out of their mind. That's what great leaders do. They inspire. And last on this page, I'll talk a bit about prioritization. Because one of the things that kills project managers, again, is trying to do too much with too little time or too little resources. You have to prioritize over the time period what you're going to do. That's where a lot of PMs get it wrong. Think about Jack Welch way back when he took over in GE. What did he do? He got all those 300 plus businesses. And what did he do? He whittled them down into 14 world-class businesses that were number 1 or number 2 in the world. If they weren't number 1 or number 2, they were on the chopping block for sale. And that money was taken and invested into those who had promise. That could be number 1 or number 2. What did it do to GE? It took them to a whole new level. What did it do to their revenues? Catapulted their revenues. So if you're able to focus 80% of your energies as a PM on the top 20% of things that you have to do, and only you can prioritize your time, your schedule, your energy, your scope, your technical responsibilities. But if you could spend time prioritizing and doing the top 20%, it'll give you an 80% payoff on the overall project. The same thing with using tools and methods and techniques and paperwork. It's the same thing. So employ the 80-20 rule. That will give you a huge payoff as a PM. The last thing is the ownership for R&R, rewards and recognition. A lot of PMs say, well, we don't have budget on this project to reward people. We don't have budget on this project. We don't have the money. No, PM, you're making a mistake. You're not being a leader. A leader needs to find a solution to a problem, not just complain about the problem. What can you do to at least recognize people on the project? They may not be a monetary reward, but can you creatively use resources to recognize people or to even reward them? Reward them with some time, some face time with the customer or the CEO or someone who could take their careers to a whole new level. Or reward them with a great team building experience. There's so many ways you could get creative when it comes to R&R. And PMs should step up and be great leaders. Sin 6, poor monitoring and controlling procedures. This sin is a really lethal one, especially when it's committed, because the PM and the team put together a plan. They're executing to the best of their ability, but they're failing to monitor and control. They're failing to keep stuff on the radar, and it falls off, and by the time they realize that Jim isn't going to hand in that deliverable, it's too late. It's too late. And then you're slapping poor Jim over the head, but you're reminding him too late because you don't have things on your radar. You don't have a good monitoring and control process or procedure. So you don't see things as close as they are in your rearview mirror when the deadlines are coming right on you. You don't realize it because your procedure is not mature enough. Some people, they manage without a customer temperature check. This is a really deadly subsin. I mean, some people go through their project from beginning to the end without even asking the customer the simple question, how well are we doing? How well are we doing in terms of meeting your communication needs or providing reports? One of the reasons why this happens is they fail to have a gated mindset. They don't have checkpoints, milestones, phase exits. They don't have kill points. They're not monitoring the triple constraint. They're not managing and thinking about time, cost, scope, quality, and risk trade-offs. They're not thinking about stakeholders. Stakeholders are not controlled by beating them over the head, but you can control their engagement process by asking open-ended, meaningful questions, gleaning that information, not just asking for asking's sake, but taking that information and putting it back into the process to improve the stakeholder management process by doing things differently, by communicating differently. So it's one thing to monitor and to see things going off, but it's another thing to control and get things back on track. That's where a lot of PMs fail. One of the worst ones ever is no deliverable sign-off, no formal deliverable sign-off. I mean, they ask the stakeholder or the customer, is it acceptable? Oh yeah, it's good. And that's the end. And it happens a lot in firms where there's no PMO audits, there's no project management office audits, so people get away with murder on their projects. It's really awful to get done with a project and not to have that formal sign-off or that formal concurrence in some documentation that the project is good to go, that the project has been accepted. And then no change control method. So a change order comes up and the PM has no idea how to manage the process. Change order comes in and the PM says, oh, let me check with my team members and see if we can do this. But that should have been predefined, the entire process. Whether you're going to have a change control board or not, and all that stuff should have been defined. So not having a formal change control method could be deadly on some projects. And last but not least, at project closure, no lessons learned. Again, people tend to think that lessons learned are a waste of time, they're too much paper, writing out so much stuff is a problem. Again, you can make it brief. Paperwork doesn't have to be long to be effective. Remember, sometimes less is best. So, in collecting lessons learned, a few things to take note of are, first of all, understand that if you do not collect lessons learned, you're losing out on project equity. Because when you learn from your mistakes, you don't make them again, hopefully. What causes mistakes? Mistakes are costly and someone must pay. Henry H. Buckley says, the time to correct a mistake is before it's made. The causes of mistakes are first, I didn't know, and second, I didn't think, and third, I didn't care. So, care about your lessons learned. That's lost project equity when you don't collect them. Make sure you have interviews. What does it take? 5, 10, 15 minutes. Sit down and extract these lessons learned from stakeholders or customers or vendors, subcontractors, team members, people who have been with you on the project. This is equity. Again, the whole idea about the cumulative effort of lessons learned needs to be underscored. Because some people feel, lessons learned, I can do them at the end of the project. And they leave them to the end and there's, boom, the big bang. But you can actually avoid the big bang by failing forward. What I mean is, you learn a mistake, but you keep moving forward to correct the mistake before it's made all throughout the project. And then you have the big bang at the end. You don't want that to happen. Confucius says, a man who has made a mistake and doesn't correct it is making another mistake. Those are the 7 deadly sins of project management. I hope you enjoyed them. Share them with your team. Send your team to my Facebook page. There are lots of other exciting videos. Or visit our website, www.praizion.com, if you're getting ready to implement a project management initiative in your firm and you want someone to come alongside as a coach, as a trainer. Give us a call. Send an email. If you're looking to get certified as a project management professional or a certified associate in project management, we've got courses you can take online. If you're looking to get your team into the world of Scrum and Agile and kick them into shape in an agile fashion, hey, you know the number to call. We've got trainers and coaches who are deep into the world of Agile, Scrum certified trainers and coaches. Look forward to seeing you somewhere else in project management space. Take care.